Thank you very much for being here to the ECOSOC Youth Forum 2022 side event on youth participation in democratic process for a sustainable future. I am Antara Tasmin. I am a research associate at IID, and I have 4 of my colleagues here as my.
Antara, you were breaking. Did you say something in the last 10 seconds? Can you repeat?
Did I just say for a sustainable future and then it didn't come? So the magic of the internet. I was just saying that I am Antara Tasmin, and I would like my colleagues to now introduce themselves as my co-host and my facilitators in this event. So if you would, Shamin, you may start.
I'm Sharmin Sultana. I'm a research assistant at IID.
I'm Rifatul Rahim. You can call me Rifa. And I'm currently working as a research assistant for IID.
Hello, everyone. I am Sultana Mehjabin. I am currently working at IID as a program executive. And basically, I work for Youth for Policy. Nice to see you all.
Hi, I'm Tasnia Insan.
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Falguni. I am working at IID as a joint director, and also I'm leading Youth for Policy as a unit lead. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you so much, my dear colleagues. We shall meet and talk to each one of us shortly after. Before everything, I would like to say good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you guys are at. As I know that there are a lot of people from around the world, I would appreciate if everybody could rename their name, whatever name you want to be referred as, your organization that you're representing, and maybe your country name. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that, a couple of seconds to do that, so that we can all know that we're from different parts of the world. So that'd be very helpful. While you do that, as you can see that we're all from IID, and this event has been organized by IID in partnership with Youth for Policy. IID is a public policy institute established in Dhaka, Bangladesh. We work for and policy making and in the policy process. IID's vision is to make policy public for an informed, inclusive, and democratic society, for which we believe youth are the flag bearers. And hence we have an initiative called the Youth for Policy, which is our youth network, where we work with the youth, for the youth, to promote democratic process and youth development. ECOSOC Youth Forum, as a lot of you of course know, is a platform where we engage young people with members of states and other stakeholders to talk about concrete actions to be taken. This year's theme is COVID-19 and the building back from COVID-19 while advancing the 2030 agenda. So basically talking about the progress that we've made in the 10-year, the decade action plan of the SDGs, hence more specifically talking about the progress that we've made in quality education, SDG 4, SDG 5 in gender equality, SDG 14, life below water, SDG 15, life on land, and SDG 17, participation, partnerships and goals. So talking about all of these goals and how youth comes into play in the formation of these 2030 agenda and the resolutions of these 2030 agenda, and how we are going to work towards that. Today's side event that we have organized, the objective is to talk about the democratic process and how youth can participate in this democratic process. Hence, we want to engage young people on the topic of democratic participation. We want to talk about how to identify key challenges you face in participating in the democratic process. We want to emphasize the ways youth can play a role in the policy process. And we want to bring forward the strategies that can be applied to better support civic education. Also, at the end, bringing back to the fact that we want to rebuild from this pandemic that we've come from, we want to highlight how a lot of youth and youth organizations around the world have promoted democracy during this pandemic. Hence, the agenda for this whole event would be, we would start with a keynote presentation from Ms. Falguni Reza, that you have already met, Joint Director at IID, and she's also the head of Youth for Policy. We will go into breakout sessions, the rules of which we will be talking about later. We'll come back, we'll discuss what we have discussed in the breakout sessions, and then we'll have a speech by our special guest, Honorable Member of Parliament of Bangladesh, Mr. Tanvir Shakil Joy. So without further ado, before I ramble on, I would like to invite Ms. Falguni Reza to come and give us, start us off with our keynote, and then we'll go with that. So thank you.
Good evening, good morning, everyone. I will be sharing my screen in a moment. So, give me a second. So can you see the screen, everyone? Okay. So as Antara already said, what I'll be talking about, I'll be very brief. Basically, this presentation is just to provide you with an idea what we will be discussing about in the next 1 hour. And so yeah, just a brief about democracy and political participation and how youth can play a role there. So as we were talking about that, promoting democracy for a sustainable future, which means actually a participatory democracy where youth are in the heart of it, for a future which is actually sustainable. So when we talk about a sustainable future, what we have learned from evidence and research that to make it sustainable and participatory, you basically have to establish a knowledge society. So the knowledge society we talk about, can you see the next screen, the next slide? Antara?
No, Apu, your screen sharing has been stopped, I guess.
I can see the first screen still. It's the magic of the internet. It happens.
Okay. Can you don't see now, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's just the first screen still. So Michelle from
Now, okay.
USA. Yep. Now
Okay.
working.
So as we were talking about the knowledge society, so to have a knowledge society that promotes democratic participation, you need basically 3 things. One is to it should be informed, it should be inclusive, and it should be also democratic. Now, how do we ensure that a knowledge society that is informed, inclusive, and democracy? So for example, to make it informed, you need to have evidence, and also collect the evidence and make them accessible to the people and also the policymakers. So basically all the stakeholders who are involved in this policymaking process. And when we talk about inclusion, what we mean is when you are taking a policy or establishing a society, it should have all these stakeholders. When we talk about youth, it should have young women, men, youth from diverse background, youth from marginalized group, and etc. And also when we talk about promoting democracy, the whole process from right to vote and taking a policy, the whole process should be participatory, which means a participation of all the people of your country or society. So to establish such a knowledge society, it is very important for people to be in democratic participation. And why it's important? Because when we talk about long-term solution and long-term stability, effectiveness, and a functioning society, it's very important to establish democracy. And also, given the shrinking space and division between different ideas, for example, elitism and populism, it's very important to have participation of everyone in the democratic process. So that was the overall thing about democracy and participatory democracy. And when we talk about youth, it's very important to have youth's voice in that policymaking process and democratic process. There are reasons, because currently, if you look at the global demography, it's around 1/4 of your total world population is basically young people, which also brings you a very important force, which is demographic boom. And you can use that demographic boom in very profitable way, in a sense that you can ensure growth and etc. And also another more important thing is when we talk about policies and policy decisions. So we are taking the decisions today that will be either burden or benefit our youth, who are actually the future of the society. So that's why it's very important to have their voice right now in the policies you are going to take. Yeah. So also, if we look around and see the global discourse, advocacy, and etc., we can, if we talk about climate change, youth are at the forefront of that. And as I was talking, that when we take a decision, youth are actually going to either bear the fruit or the consequences of that. So that's a very good example. Is maybe it can be Brexit. So there was a study when this Brexit happened, and it was a study on why people voted and how they voted. So when we look at the demographic data, it was seen that the older the people, they were more about about leaving the European Union, and the young who younger the people, they actually wanted to stay in the European Union. So Brexit happened, and actually older people who voted for Brexit, they did that, but the future of Brexit, whether it's good or bad, will be more taken by the youth, as we can see. So I'll be skipping few slides, and since we have time limits. So as we are talking about youth and why it's important to have their participation in the democratic process. So COVID happened. And if we look into COVID, that why the nations failed and why they failed, then again, I can take you back to that knowledge society that we talk about, that why it's important to have informed, inclusive, and a democratic participatory society to counter pandemic or any other global crisis. So if you look at COVID, multiple things failed and multiple things worked globally. So one of the major thing was during COVID also there was a rise of infodemic, as we said. There were misinformation regarding health issues, vaccination, and mismanagement of information, which is again lack of information dissemination. And then if we talk about inclusiveness, so there are states who took the benefit of vaccine formulation and distribution, who have more power and money, and that resulted into vaccine inequality. And also democratic process. So there are countries who used the COVID again as another excuse to curtail rights such as freedom of speech, peaceful assembly, and etc., which again resulted into weaker democracy. Yeah. Now, how COVID impacted youth differently is so there were globally issues regarding education, skill, and employment anyway before COVID happened. So before COVID, there were around 267 million youth who were out of school and unemployed, and they didn't have skill trainings. But COVID also increased that number to a great extent. Yeah. And also, if we talk about education globally, we have seen learning loss, although we shifted the whole education system online, but then again there were digital divide. So globally, around 1 million students were affected by COVID. And when we talk about marginalization and vulnerable communities, for example, during pandemic, we have also seen how domestic violence increased, and child marriage has a very sharp rise in the global south. So these are the things how COVID impacted differently youth, and also marginalized youth in a more in a deeper manner. Yeah. However, having said that, during all the other crises, as youth came forward and took steps, we have also seen how they did their best regarding raising awareness, promoting working for advocacy, and etc. For example, the global climate protest was shifted online, and we have also seen some amazing works youth have done here. For example, this is this is from our youth group that we work with in partnership with other youths in local level. So they collected masks that we throw here and there, and also did this wall paint and everything regarding raising awareness why we should wash hands and use masks and etc. So So having all these in context, as we talk about sustainable future, we know that SDGs is there, and youths are one of the key stakeholder when it comes to implementing SDGs, because more than 1/3 of the SDGs are related to youth empowerment, participation, and their well-being. And if we be more specific, there are 6 key SDGs where around 20 targets are very youth specific. SDG 1 about hunger, then quality education, gender equality, decent work, and etc. And more importantly, climate action. Yeah. And also, since we are talking about participatory democracy and global partnership in achieving participatory democracy, so goal 16 and goal 17 is also very important when it comes to participatory democracy and political participation, and etc. We CSOs, basically the people we are here today, people from different organization, youth organization, and other CSOs. It's very important, and it's our job to have this strong partnership between young people and other stakeholders to achieve SDGs together. And what we can do is we can take some steps so that we can ensure youths, we are involving youths in achieving SDGs through this democratic participation. So for example, we can create formal space for youths where young men and women, they can be, in the very heart of the decision-making process. And also the policies we take in different countries, they should be very much effective, contextual, and also demand-driven, so that they can address all, demand of different youth from different cohort. And also effective intervention and also participatory approach. You should have voice of larger and diverse group of youth in the policy making process. So as we are talking about the establishing of a knowledge society, we will end this discussion with 3 call to action that can help you in establishing that knowledge society. So for an informed, inclusive, and democratic society, we will have to make policy more informed, so that we can collect evidence, and because we have seen during pandemic and all the other global crises how important it is to have access to information and evidence-based decision-making process. And the second is inclusive policy decision that bridges the gap between the young people and the policymakers, so that you can have a very resilient future. And the third is democratic participation, as we were talking about, so that youth can meaningfully engage and they can have their ownership in achieving the SDGs. I'll end it here, and thank you so much. If you have any questions, please go forward. And
thank you so much, Falguni Apu, for the keynote. If you have any questions, if you want to ask, you're free to ask, or you are free to ask it in the chat and we'll get back to you. If there are no immediate questions, I would suggest please do write it in the chat rooms and chat box, and then we can get back to it. At the moment, I'll just go and take you to the breakout room so that we can start discussions more vividly. All right, so before we go there, again, I will give you some instructions as to what the breakout rooms are all about. We have identified 4 objectives that we want to achieve through this side event. So we have 4 questions that we want to discuss with all of you present here. The 4 breakout rooms, you will be assigned randomly to the breakout rooms. We'll have one of our representatives as facilitators. We would also want one rapporteur from each of these working groups, where the expectation is that the rapporteur will take notes during these this breakout session, and then we'll come back in the plenary and talk about whatever you guys have discussed in the breakout room. I would suggest the facilitators to give further instructions as to how you want to go to this discussion. It will be no more than 20 minutes of the breakout session. So Mejabin, please do change that to 20 minutes, and then we'll discuss and we'll come back, and our special guest will be here to listen to us during the plenary. So thank you very much. Please give us some time to assign you to your rooms. In the meantime, I would please suggest rename your screen name to your name, your organization, and the country you're from. It really helps us to know where you guys are from and to kind of look at youth expectations and youth discussions from different parts of the world. So it is very helpful for us if you do that. So please do that quickly while we assign you to your rooms. Thank you.
Yes, actually, is Tushapu back? Yes, she's back.
Yeah. Sorry, there was
introducing ourselves.
Yeah, there was a technical error. I'm extremely sorry for that. Yeah, I would first of all, I would like to invite you all to introduce yourselves and mention your organization name and your country name. That would be very great. And also, you have already renamed, right? Yeah. So if you can unmute yourselves and give us the introduce. Should I call by name or you just start? Anyone?
Oh, Porag was starting.
I was doing my introduction, so I think we can go one by one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, my name is Parag. I'm from Bangladesh. I'm from Lal Sabuz Society. Lal Sabuz Society is the organization you guys just saw a few minutes ago in that presentation of Falguni Apu. That youth group she mentioned, that was us. So we have been working on quite a few issues in our country. Climate action is the major issue we are working. So yes, that's my introduction, and I love meeting new people, making new networks, and that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Parag. Okay, next. Have everybody done their introduction?
No, I was the first one.
Yeah, okay.
My name is Kudzai. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm based in the United States. A master's student here in the research and sexuality studies. I'm here representing the LGBT community. That's the organization.
Great.
So that's it.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. Next, voluntarily, you can, Michelle.
Sure. Hi. Yes, my first name is Matthew. My last name is Michael, and I was born in the United States of America. Now I'm representing a group called Suki 222, and it's a group that focuses on the SDGs and on the human right to access food and water and shelter. In the last month, some water filters have arrived to Bangladesh, so the initial pilot program has expanded to Bangladesh, and I wanted to interact with people to share their perspective on how we can continue to lobby to create good policy that will help us to have a sustainable future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's great, really great. Yeah, next we have Zanibur Rahi, Vania. Yeah, please go on.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohammad Zanibur Rahi. I'm from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I have just passed my HSC exam the previous year. I have been working with various volunteer organizations and helping people. That's all from me.
Thank you so much, Zanibur Rahi. And next we have Vania.
Oh, okay. So hi everyone, my name is Vania and I am from Peru, Latin America. And yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you so much. So next we have Wais Aria, maybe. Please, can you hear me? Okay, so I think she's not being able to hear. Okay, so today here we are in the breakout rooms to discuss the topic of, I'm giving you the topic and I'm writing it on the whiteboard also so that you can see it. Also, I will be writing it on the chat box. Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Okay, first of all, I am writing it in the chat box and then I will write it on the. Okay, so here is the topic. Can you see everybody?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah. So I would request someone to voluntarily be the captain of this room? Anyone? So you will be the rapporteur who will be presenting the discussion we will be having here in the main session after we end the breakout session. So I am here to facilitate and guide you if you want any kind of help and write down the points you are going to make. But someone from the participant has to be the like a presenter who is going to be the who is going to present all the topics we are discussing here outside the room. So who would like to be that?
Can I be?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So yeah, we have a presenter here. I can say the mentor or captain or leader of this room. So we will start discussing how can youth play a role in inclusive policymaking process to promote democracy. So you can just discuss whatever are your thoughts. I can go by name, or you can voluntarily start talking about this topic. Like anyone wants to start.
Well, I think I can share my thoughts on this. The youth, I think I'm talking about my country's perspective. I think the youth of our country at least has a huge role to play, because our demographic dividend is based on the youth, as most of you know. And our youth is very interested, very enthusiastic about working for the country. So I think if the youth is given what's that called? Meaningful stake in policy making. I mean, if they get to make at least some of the decisions, or if they are at least included in the decision making, I think they can play a huge role in policy making and the progress, ultimately ending in promoting democracy. So that's my thought. I think we can, when we go into further discussion, we can discuss about this more, but let's hear from someone else.
Thank you so much, Parag. Okay, so Vania, right? If I'm spelling the name correctly. So as a Vania, okay, Vania. So as a team leader of this session, I would request you to keep the notes, whatever they are talking, because you have to like compile it together and then present it on the main session. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So next, who would like to add some more thoughts on this topic?
Can I say?
Yeah, sure.
So in my country, Bangladesh, where I live, from the university level, our students can involve themselves in political organization and they can practice politics. So we know that today these people, these students who are participating in this organization, they will be the future leader of the country. And I think what the other person said previously, that they should be included in policy making and like in major decisions for this country, and like for applying a law, etc. Like we should give chance to these people so that they can involve themselves in the matters of the country, and thus they can play a vital role in an inclusive policy making process, and they can promote democracy. And we know that Bangladesh is a democratic country, and we believe in democracy, and students get to practice these things from their school, college, university. Like in case if we say that we want to make someone a class representative, a prefect or a leader, whatever we want to say, and we select the people by by voting, and thus we apply democracy in our daily life from school, college, and in universities. So thus the youth can play a role.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we have heard from the representatives from Bangladesh. Now we would like to hear from other participants as well. What are your thoughts that how can youth play a role in policymaking process to promote democracy?
I think in Africa, speaking from African lens, the problem is that the people occupying the policymaking spaces and processes are older heads. So you grow up being told that youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but in their world, tomorrow never comes. So I think we need to put policies in place where we will say, what does tomorrow entail? At what point do we draw the line and say, now we are in tomorrow? Because if we keep on relying on being leaders of tomorrow, we are going to become older heads before we become leaders. And then it's going to be a cycle of having older heads as heads of states and relying on older people to make policies. And this is why our governments are not doing anything to make sure that inclusion is at the forefront, because they don't understand it. They don't get it. There's a disconnect in the generations. So I don't know how we can do it, but I think as youth, we need to start being more politically engaged, because the pace now is political. Whether or not you like politics, our everyday lives are defined and dictated by politics. We need to put maybe rules and regulations to state that at least after a certain age, one cannot be the head of state. At least we can start there, because we cannot continue seeing 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds occupying policy-making and decision-making offices and places. That's my 2 cents.
That's great. That's great. Thanks a lot. Okay, next we have Michelle, and we will hear from Vania at the end, because as she is going to represent. So yeah, can we hear something from Michelle?
Oh, sure. Yes, I agree. I think that the idea of joining a political organization or forming a political organization, that's a good idea. I wrote in the chat box about writing laws. I haven't written a law, but some other activists have had some policy made as a result. I don't know of that in the context of Bangladesh. So that may or may not be a valid point for the situation that you're living in at this point. But yes, how can we push for those changes that we want? I think that one way may be to craft the law ourselves and then offer that to the representatives. Another may be to pressure them through letter writing, through demonstration, or a media campaign. And I think a multitude of ways.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Michelle. And do we have any other participants who haven't talked yet? Vice Arya, I think she has some technical errors. So yeah, can we go back to, can we go to Vania? Hey, hello. So now please share your thoughts, what you think.
Okay. So basically, like everyone has been focusing on their countries, I'm gonna focus on my country, which is Peru, which is located in Latin America. So yeah, we can find out like in Peru, like policymaking can be a little bit problematic, just not because of the fact like the political leaders are not willing to listen to youths, but also places are not given to youths as well. So if we don't have a role, we don't have a place, youths are not likely to be listened, not because they don't deserve it, but because there are no places. And if you don't know where to speak, who is going to listen to you? To have communication, you need two sides, the one who is giving the message and the one who receives the message. But this communication is not happening. So what have been happening in Peru nowadays? They have been trying to reach out through social media, as my colleague said. But what happens with this, there was a huge, not revolution, I can say, but like kind of protest in Peru some time ago in 2021. And what happened is just like the government censored all the stuff that Jude was doing. So this provoked that Jude didn't have a channel to talk to, and neither like a way to protest, even like on, I can say, public speech or something like that. So how they can like play a role in inclusive policy making process while promoting democracy. So I think like the government should like empower youth And as my another colleague said, not only like to say, oh, it's tomorrow, no, because we don't know when it's tomorrow. Like if you keep saying, oh, tomorrow I will do it, tomorrow I will do it, and then you postpone it, and so on. So later than that, in psychology things, we can see like only if you put it in a psychological way and you say something like, instead of tomorrow, of today, the whole mind is gonna change. So if that changes, we are gonna be with the chip of not tomorrow, right now, today. So if we say the leaders of today, I think with those single switch, youth is going to be empowered. And also youth needs to know their rights, needs to know what they can claim for, because mostly you can ask, oh, what are you like fighting for in these protests that you are into? I don't know, I'm just following my friends. So you'd have to be empowered. They have to know their rights. They have to know, like, so they have to know what they are willing to ask, and also what are their rights, but also their obligations towards that, in order to promote the democracy in my country, which is like a democratic republic. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great knowledge we have from you now. So yeah, anybody else wants to share something else from the perspective Vania shared, or wants to add something? Nobody?
No, I think we've covered most of the area.
Yeah, so I think more or less we all, in all our countries, we have the almost same scenarios, that youth are not getting proper platform to raise up their voices. Also, who are the policymakers, they are not including the youth the way they say in the proper process. So that needs more explosion than it has right now, right? So yeah, may I request you all to just put on the camera for we can take a group photo virtually.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Thanks a lot. I would request you all to just hold on for a second so that I can click the photo. Okay, thank you so much. I will take another one if you allow me some more minutes, more seconds. Yeah, Michelle, your light was better. Just
I'm in a study room because it's pretty much in the morning right now.
Okay, thank you so much everyone. Okay, so next session, we will go to the main room now, and then Vania, do you have your presentation ready? Like whatever they have said, you just make a summary of it and then present it to the main session whenever they call your name. Okay?
Okay, they are gonna mention my name then, not the group. Okay.
Yeah. The group name, our group name is Role of a Youth, and we are from breakout room 3. So yeah, then they will mention both. I will mention that you are the repertoire of this room. So you just compile everybody's thoughts together and then say the way you said, because I think you have covered everybody's thoughts together while you are saying, right? Everybody agrees? Okay, so it's exactly 10:55 and we are on time. We have completed small, but not so it was a very good knowledge sharing session, I guess. Good to see you. I'm very glad to have participants like you in my room. Hope in some other events we will meet again. Yeah, so let's go back to the main session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It was a lovely discussion and it was lovely meeting you all.
Thank you for starting the recording. Okay, I think a lot of us are back. Are all the facilitators back? Yes, all right. We have all of our rapporteurs. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much. I hope everybody had a wonderful conversation and discussion, and I'm sure we have a lot to discuss. I am very pleased to welcome our special guest who's already arrived, Mr. Tanvi Shakil Joy, Honorable Member of Parliament of Bangladesh. We will introduce and hear from him after the plenary. So for the plenary, I would like to start with the first room, which was for the key challenges youth facing today in terms of democratic participation. The rapporteur for the key challenges, please do introduce yourself and start. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Muhammad, and I'm from Lebanon, 24 years old, law graduate. And we spoke a lot about the challenges about youth participation that's happening in all of our societies. But one of them that youth lack experience, they lack awareness, they lack participation, they are not offered collaborative opportunities, and even the decision makers, they don't think that we know anything about politics and about real life. As you can see here, they have no space to express their opinion. They just don't think that they have experience or understanding of the real world. They lack proper guideline and collaborative opportunities. As I said, they lack awareness, lack engagement, they lack training. And one of them said that also poverty affects the youth participation in democratic because they have from a young age to help their parents, so they don't know how they can participate in the democratic process in their country. I think that's it. And personally, I think also that if the youth are not they don't have a space, they're very think that they are naive, but they represent a lot of population of all around the world, and I think that they should be included in decision making and policy making.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. And absolutely, the space that is lacking for youth is one of the key challenges that we face, that the youth are not given the space to collaborate properly and effectively. Talked about how youth can be better supported to gain awareness. As we said, one of the key challenges being that awareness is lacking, how youth can be better supported to gain awareness, and also civic education and how civic education can be supported further. So the rapporteur for rule number 2, if you would please. Thank you.
So from our role, Shahir is going to present what we discussed.
Thank you so much, Rifat.
Thank you for the floor.
Hello,
to cover all the essential points discussed on the discussion. First, we actually talked about how we can increase youth willingness towards civic education. Our conductor made some good points about how we can actually make youth more willful towards civic education. Then we talked about how art can promote civic education. Art, music, dance, or movies, we can actually promote civic education through art. Then we talked about how leadership can help civic education. Leadership, if leaders actually make their friends or their other surrounding people understand about civic education can be started. And then we talked about how social media can help promote civic education. Through programs or through government programs and leaders, we can actually promote civic education. And then the older people, how they can help the youth be more willful and more willful to civic education. They can actually share their ideas, points, plans, and projects, or anything they know. They can share their opinions towards their young generation and youth.
All right. Andy seems to have a question. So do you think we can finish the other two and then we can have a question, or do you want to do the question right now and then go forward? It's a very short question.
It's not a question.
Okay.
It's
right.
not
You
a
want to
question.
add something?
Yeah, I was in the same group chat. And I just thought of an idea, and I was like, I, for example, learn about civic education through extracurricular activities in my school, like MUN conferences, and I wanted to actually mention that as well as an option to be able to promote civic education. That's all. That's it. We can go back
that's
to
great.
the
That's great. Keeping it short. Thank you so much. So exactly. So how schools can be very effective in bringing in civic education through extracurriculars and through art, and how that can be more formalized in the education system itself, might be something that will promote, I think, how we can support youth in that endeavor. Following that, thank you so much to the rapporteur and to Andy and to Rifat. The third room talked about how can youth play a role in inclusive policymaking process to promote democracy. And I would ask the rapporteur for room number 3 to talk.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Vania Llerena. I come from Peru, Latin America, currently based in Dubai. And my group and I have been discussing about this topic, and we came out with the following. So first of all, it was like the division. Some of us were like from Bangladesh, so they were discussing the reality in Bangladesh. The division in Bangladesh, how like the policy making and the policy organizations start in the university life. So from there, the students are encouraged to be leaders in that topic. When students are encouraged to be leaders, that's when can happen the policy making. And the policy making involves youth involvement in the community. And if youth involvement in the community is there, so it is promoting democracy somehow, because youth normally like prevail that they want to take part into an active role in the communication of everything that is going on in the reality or current things. So from them, we have seen another perspective from Africa that our classmate said that people growth is related to the youth of the leaders, but he was stating a lot about the leaders of tomorrow. What happens when we say leaders of tomorrow? We are unconsciously saying to our mind in psychology that we are going to be the leaders, not of today, of tomorrow. But if we switch that and we say something like the leaders of today, our switch is gonna like completely switch from that, and we are gonna be aware like we have to lead nowadays, today. It's not about tomorrow, it's now. So from that, we can go to another insight that when is tomorrow, we have to say the deadline, because nowadays the reality is that leaders of tomorrow is the reality. So leaders of tomorrow, when is tomorrow? If we keep repeating that, tomorrow is never gonna arrive. So we need to set a deadline, complete dates, so it can be fulfilled. But how is it involving policy making process and promoting democracy? Okay, so if we want to link it to that, we have seen in all of our cases, like they don't have a space to talk. They don't have a space to express ourselves. So if we don't have a space to express ourselves, how are we gonna be listened to? So for that, we were talking about why don't we join political organizations, which can lead to policy making as a result. But we can craft it ourselves, yes, but this is gonna pressure somehow the governments. This is gonna pressure somehow society in order to not only like listen to us, but notice us. And this is not something like we are forcing it, but we want to be listened to. We are not asking rather than just being listened to and being for something fair that we consider is of most importance for us nowadays. Because right now we are the youth, yes, but later on we are gonna be like the ones who may be ruling a country, or maybe the ones who are being the policy making. So that's the main point that we wanted to do. To promote democracy through all the stages, not only when you are like the president of a country or when you are the prime minister of a country, but also when you are a youth like us. And I think like all of us have an exceptional role in each of our communities. And keep going, guys. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. That was absolutely true. Talking about leaders of tomorrow is never going to help if you want to change today. So leaders of today is what we aim to be. And Vanya has put forward something very important, which is not just making sure that we are there for the awareness part of advocacy, we are also at part of every part of policymaking and the policy procedure, so that we're not waiting to be the president of the country or the prime minister of the country, but we are active participants in all forms of our existence. So lastly, as Vanya has very much presented herself to be very aware of the fact that youth have a role now. And during this pandemic, we have seen that the youth have played that role in various organizations, in various forms, doing various kinds of work during the hardships that we have faced. And so the fourth and final breakout room talked about the exemplary practices that have promoted democracy that have been by youth around the world. So the rapporteur for breakout room number 2, if you want to start the discussion. Yeah. Tasmia, do you want to point out who is the rapporteur?
Rehman Hassan from Ariel Foundation.
Oh, hello, Rehman.
Hello, I'm like the speaker, I guess. So I guess we kind of talked to people of like a bunch of different backgrounds to kind of see how they kind of gave some examples of way that we could promote both youth participation and also, I guess, just overall participation in democracy. So, I mean, at least in the US, so I guess from a US perspective, we've definitely focused on like how the COVID-19 has prevented a lot of people from getting involved with various democratic processes, and especially youth are prevented from getting their right to development, which represents a huge issue. And like to kind of tackle a lot of these, this huge problem, we can work with various internal campaigns to talk with people of different backgrounds and come from different areas to target different areas. We also focused on the ability to use social media to reach all kinds of people fairly quickly. We also recognize that COVID-19 has also impacted a lot of infrastructure, has, I guess, exacerbated a lot of infrastructure issues, and lots of areas continue to not have access to internet. So we kind of talked about examples from other UN organizations, such as, I guess, UNICEF and also Colombia, SIPA, and how they were able to use the power of youth ambassadors and other people who were able to go door to door to essentially urge people to like do things like get vaccinated and also to promote various, I guess, conservation efforts. And we also focused on how COVID-19 has also presented a bunch of public health concerns and how we need to be able to promote democracy without, I guess, hurting people, I guess, health-wise. From like a perspective from Ghana, we kind of talked about how COVID-19 has led to a huge standstill in terms of like economic development. And although COVID-19 has not had such a great impact in Ghana as it has in other major countries, we still need to focus on advocacy with the media to speak about important situations like elections and other things like that, so people and especially young people can have their voice being heard. And we also need to help encourage people to vote. And we need to promote like debates and other ways of public communication so we can hear different perspectives from different people so people can make educated decisions when they are voting. And then we also talked about in like various, I guess, individual communities, we identified language barriers, communication barriers, political barriers, and also technological barriers. And also people both in Bangladesh, India, and Ghana all talked about how lots of people, I guess a huge issue is that many people didn't think COVID-19 existed, or like it wasn't as significant as it truly was. So stopping COVID-19 disinformation was a great way that we were able to empower democracy and allow people to really foster communication, so especially people like the youth can really take a greater role in the government and in, I guess, public policy to truly be able to have their voices reflected in the government. And we also need to make sure that the voices that are being heard are people who are, I guess, both racially diverse in terms of their gender, their sexual orientation, that's diverse, their gender identity, and also their racial identity, and also, I guess, age diversity. So we want to hear from both younger people who are the leaders of today, as they have a unique perspective, but also having all kinds of different perspectives so we can have the best, so we can tackle problems from all kinds of different fronts. That was kind of everything that we talked about.
Thank you so much, Rehman. And as we could tell that the part of the SDG that comes with partnerships and to collaborate with one another is looking at these examples from Ghana, from Bangladesh, from India, from the US, all these examples coming together and showing us that practices can be replicated around the world and how young people are doing one thing in one place and that having an effect in another place and how that can be replicated in those worlds. So thank you so much. I hope that the people who were not in the breakout sessions, that you have learned what we have discussed. And coming to what we were aiming to do with this side event is talking about the different aspects of democratic participation and how youth are playing a part and should be able to, and what support they should be getting to play a better role in the future. To bring all of these things together, I would like to invite our special guest, Honorable Member of Parliament of Bangladesh, Mr. Tanvir Shakil Joy, to give us our ending commentary and ending speech on this event. Honorable Member of Parliament of Bangladesh and Secretary General of the Parliamentary Caucus on Social Justice, Tanvir Shakil Joy, has been actively working with young people since his first been elected to Parliament in 2008. In 2016, he organized a rally of Bangladeshi students protesting Islamic extremism and communal violence. He's also a member of the Standing Committee on Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And I could not ask for a better person to who has worked with young people and to talk to young people about the issues that we have put forward today. So, sir, if you would like to start, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And, good evening and, good morning to US, I think, the participants from US. I would like first to thank IID and ECOSOC Youth Forum for having me at this wonderful initiative. And as you mentioned that youth is an integral part of everything. Everything means everything, from society to policymaking, to government, to issues like climate change, issues like democratic processes, everything, because it's like more than 1.2 billion population around the globe are young people. That means, as it was mentioned that our friend from Peru, she mentioned that leader of today, not tomorrow. I think leader of today and tomorrow, both very important and both youth-centric. Especially right after when we just came out of COVID-19 situation, now I think it's a very pivotal moment for youths to take charge. The last 2.5 years, it's been a nightmare for everyone. And many of us lost dear ones. Like I lost my father, I lost some of my relatives. So it's like I would say completely breakdown of someone's family life, someone's societies, everything, all the processes. So I think this is a very important time for youths to take charge in every sphere of life. And I would just like to mention a couple of issues. As I was being introduced as also I am the member of Standing Committee of Environment and Forest. And also I am chairing a parliamentarians initiative called Climate Parliament, where we work on renewable energy, climate change issues like that. And I was fortunate to attend the COP26, which was held in Glasgow last year. And I had been working with the issues like climate change for last almost 10, 15 years. And day by day, I am observing that youths are getting more and more influential. Like in COP26, youths were the most influential part of the whole process. Though I found out that the policymakers there or the organizers of the COP26, they were not very much youth friendly. That was true. But despite of that, the youths were in so many numbers and they were so proactive. Their voices were so logical. It was so influential that we had the people at COP26 had to listen to them. And that's the power of youth. And that's the way it needs to be changed. If we talk about climate change, we know that things are not always going in the right direction, or things are not moving as we want. And I am a politician, I am a lawmaker, and I myself need to blame myself or the policymakers because we are not, I would say, doing our duties. It is required to tackle the issues like climate change. So youths are actually a strong pressure group for us. And as we politicians, definitely, we think about our votes, we think about how we can get elected, how we can, I would say, gain the confidence of population or our local areas where youths are not dominant force. So where youths are now dominant force, we need to take them into our confidence. And when we need to do that, we have to listen to the youth. That's one example I'm giving. Regarding policy making, if I talk about Bangladesh perspective, Bangladesh policy making, political scenario, social fabric, everything had changed in last 2 decades. A lot of young policymakers are there, a lot of young politicians are there, a lot of young member of parliaments are there, a lot of young ministers, state ministers that are there. And also in political parties, in all the political parties, young politicians are actually now marching forward. So because they can easily connect, young politicians, young lawmakers, young representatives can easily connect to the youth. They can understand their voice, they can understand their logic, they can understand their approach of solving a problem. And this is very much needed. So I think as we are talking about SDG, when we need to have a good implementation of all the SDGs goal by 2030, we need to have youth's presence in all the areas of SDGs. And how to do that? Because SDG is definitely heavily governed by policymakers, by governments, by lawmakers, by government institutions, by government employees, bureaucrats. So everywhere, if the youths are not included in a right way or in a holistic way, then their voices and their concerns, their opinions will not be implemented. And for that, I think youths need to take the charge. They need to take the initiative. Definitely there will be a lot of problems. There will be a lot of impediments. There will be a lot of hindrances. There will be a lot of, I would say, negative attitude from politicians, from lawmakers, from civil society, from bureaucrats, from everywhere, because that's a generation gap, and sometimes the radical ideas or the innovations from youths are very much needed to shake the system, to make a change, what is needed, especially after COVID-19, when social life, family life, financial system, everything got a major, I would say, major shakeup, or we just lost our world in last 2.5 years. So we need to rebuild it. We need to make sure that the lessons we learned in last 2.5 years is taking us to the right direction. If speaking honestly, I don't see that the lessons we learned in last 2.5 years are actually taking us to the right path always. Think about climate change. We saw how climate change, this whole pandemic situation is very much related to climate change. But I don't think we learned our lessons, because we are going to the same path again. So who can change this? Youths can change. So I think youths are a very vital role to change the whole political system, financial system, and also to make sure that we policymakers, politicians, or civil society bureaucrats, we get pressurized so that we take the right decision, and we also need to make them included in all the processes. Democratic processes, it was discussed. Democratic processes, there is a, I found out even in Bangladesh, there is a general, avoidance among youth regarding political system, political upheaval, that they think, oh no, we don't want to get involved in politics. It's a nasty thing, it's a dirty thing. It's not beneficial to the country or to the community. Definitely, there are very dark sides, there are very negative sides of politics. But if youths do not proactively engage in political process, they do not give their opinion, they do not strongly put their voice on the table, then how this negative side, these dark sides, or this, I would say, this not very much youth friendly sides of politics will change. Youth needs to change it, and they will need to come forward. That's why my urge to the will be to the young people that you need to come forward. There will be a lot of negative attitude towards you. You need to accept that. You need to take it as a challenge, and then you will need to overcome it. And youths can always overcome it. We have seen it through many times that youths can change. Like if we talk about our country, Bangladesh, the whole political movement always led by the youth. If we think about our father of the nation, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, when he started the whole liberation movement, he was very young. All the major political movements we had in Bangladesh that were led by student politics or the young politicians or the student leaders. Even if we think about all the political movements across the globe, think about Arab Spring, or think about Russian Revolution, or in many countries, many revolutions actually were led by youth. So I think, definitely this is a digital era. People, youths are very much engaged in social media, in digital media. That's why sometimes they don't feel like going into the field and make the changes. But I think both are important. Definitely, the digital platform is very strong, very influential now. Youths are very much engaged there. So through digital media, social media, they need to make their voices heard. They need to get involved in all the processes. But at the same time, I think they also need to go on to the field, through various activities, political activities, financial activities, civil activities, in all spheres. People's youths need to get involved. And I think this is the right time. After pandemic, this is a new world now. So this is the right time for youths to take charges, to make sure that SDGs are in social safety net sector, in climate change sector, lot of in democratic sectors, everywhere SDGs need to be implemented, and youths can only make sure that they get implemented in the right way. So I think this kind of engagement, this kind of discussions need to be carried forward, and need to be arranged more frequently, so that more from academia or from NGOs, CSOs, they can also have strong interaction with the youth. I was amazed to hear from friends, our young friends from Peru, from USA, and from other parts, that they are so much, I would say, clear-headed. They know what they're thinking, and they know what path they want to go, and they have very, I would say, very much conviction that whatever they are saying, it's the right for the society, It's right for all the values we need to carry forward. That's the and to get the SDGs implemented in every sector. This kind of approach and this kind of proactive initiatives from youths are very much needed. I would like to conclude here, and I would like to thank all the participants here. I would like to thank all the organizers here for having me on this very, I would say, very important and very pertinent and very relevant initiative. Thank you very much, and good wishes to everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, for your concluding remarks and to make value from your valuable time to come to this event. Thank you to everybody. As sir said, participation in events and in online, offline, in all of our lives, in all sorts of activism is necessary, and the youth are active. I would say this is proof enough that we have come together to talk about democratic participation from all around the world. And I hope that if nothing else, this event has given more scope to think about how participation can be increased and how we can engage more with people around the world and collaborate to bring together the change that we want. Thank you so much, Mehjabin, for your support. Thank you so much, Honorable Member of Parliament, Tanvi Shakil Joy, sir. Thank you so much to all the participants of this event. I am delighted to say that this was a wonderful discussion, and we will, going forward, have a brief with all the discussion that has happened in this event and be available to you through the ECOSOC platform. Thank you so much for being here. Hopefully you will be connected to us. We are on Facebook, and we have our own website, so please do check us out at IID.org or YfP.org. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening, afternoon, morning, and we shall see you soon. Thank you.